think there's a lot of uncertainty around the true path of the recovery. We've got 3 quarters of sequential growth. That's good, but still the slowest in that sequence. And obviously, with restriction being tightened again in the current quarter, we hope it will just be within these few weeks. And then hopefully with the resumption of activities, more of the consumer-facing activities can pick up pace going into the rest of 2021. So it's fingers crossed. Still plenty of uncertainty around the true path. Fortunately, I think the export-oriented industry sectors remains pretty resilient. Global demand for Singapore key exports remains fairly strong. So the export-oriented industries, goods in particular, is certainly lifting Singapore's growth.
How much can that offset the slowdown in other sectors, especially consumer-facing sectors, through these restrictions, you think?
Most of it. I mean, Singapore's domestic demand side is pretty small. Exports of goods, you're talking about, up to 1.5, 3 times the size of the economy itself. So exporting of pharmaceuticals to electronic parts and components will be sufficient. After all, there are just 5 million of us, and even if we want to consume everything in Singapore, that's not going to be that much of a dent as far as GDP is concerned.
Okay, so not much of a dent. Does that mean that you think this forecast for the 4% to 6% growth is still realistic? Because we understand there's going to be a review of that forecast in August.
Well, as I said, plenty of uncertainty around the true path. But the good thing, I suppose, is when you're playing with maths, second quarter last year, economy contracted by over 13% on year. If not for the current restriction in place and tightened one, we could have seen year-on-year growth of easily north of 15% on year. Yeah. We could still well see that, but obviously going into the rest of the year depends a lot on what's happening on the pandemic around the region, rest of the world in terms of recovery on track. But certainly on the export-oriented side, that remains fairly strong, certainly looking at the demand side, if we are looking at demand recovery in US, Europe, and key markets like in China, it looks like an export-oriented sector will continue to do the heavy lifting and coming back closer to home. If consumer-facing industries activities pick up pace again, they'll add on to growth. So on the goods-producing sector, whether it's construction, whether it's exports of modern goods, it's doing pretty decently.